If you have the tendency to drop things out of the tree like I do, then this video is for you. What we have here is the new bullet retriever from UltimateAider. This guy is getting ready to be released July 28th this week at the Mobile Hunters Expo, and I want to give you a quick sneak peek and a rundown of what this bullet retriever is all about. The bullet retriever is CNC machined from a solid block of aluminum. It has a working load of 50 pounds and weighs only 1.83 ounces. It comes with 4 arms for an increased success rate. It's anodized orange, making it more visible in low light and also when you drop it down 20 feet into the leaves. It also has a magnetic bottom which will allow you to pick up a release or a saw, perhaps even a steel broadhead, and it comes in at $35. The bullet retriever comes in the closed position like you see here. There are 3 grooves that are machined into this aluminum. You have the top, middle, and then the bottom. When you want to deploy the arms, all you have to do is slide that O-ring up to the top groove, and those arms come out like that really easily. And to lock those arms or keep them from closing back in, all you have to do is slide this little O-ring all the way back down to that bottom groove like you see here, and that will keep those arms from closing back in on itself. When you're done, you want to put it back into packing mode. Simply slide that all the way up to the top, close up those arms, and then there you go, like that. One of the cool features about the bullet retriever is simply its size. This is no bigger than 4 fingers stacked together like so, but trying to figure out where I would put it in my setup. When I run my latitude method too, I generally always have this dump pouch. It has this front zippered pocket, and it would easily go in there with my DynaGlide rope. Also, the bullet retriever does not come with a rope attachment, so you're going to have to provide yourself some type of paracord or DynaGlide rope, which for me, the only thing I'm going to do, I have 2 sets of DynaGlide rope because I have 2 one-stick climbing setups, but essentially on each end of the DynaGlide rope that I have, I did a spliced eye and I put these S-beaners. This one is the number 2, rated 10 pounds, and that's probably the biggest size that you would be able to use if you're going to do it like this, but that will slip right over top of the loop and then be able to hold your bullet retriever. So now you don't have to go add some paracord to your setup or anything like that. You can just simply use your pull down rope. This one is the number 1, I believe it is, small writing, yeah, number 1. This is a 5-pound rated, and of course that slips right over as well. So either way, these little S-beaners work really well, and it also prevents you from having to buy some more paracord or rope or something like that. I want to test the magnet out just to see how strong it is and how kind of real life applicable the magnet on the bottom of the bullet retriever is to retrieve like your release or maybe an arrow, broadhead, or whatever it might be. Now my release, I forget even what it is. I think it's the True Ball Sweet Spot 2, something like that. It's a hinge release. There is not much metal on this thing that a magnet will attach to, just right here at the head like so, and you can see it definitely will hold if it catches at that spot. But even just sitting here on the table, if I was to drop that out of the tree, I would have to drop the bullet retriever down. It would have to then lay on its side and get a clean contact to that, and I would be able to lift it up maybe, and then from there you can see it's just it's really touch and go. It's right on the line of possibly being too heavy, because these guys are heavy. They're designed to be heavy. And I know most people do not hunt with a hinge release. It's just something I started doing about 2 years ago, and that's the only thing I have that's real life in that application. Here is, and I have several broadheads here. This is the 200 grain Maasai from Grizzly Stick. This is the 125 grain, I forget what it's called off the top of my head. This is the 150 grain Samurai. This is just a Havalon knife. And then this arrow has a Trypan, Rage Trypan on it. I like those guys. I have a Benchmade knife. This is kind of not heavy, but it's definitely more heavy than these broadheads. And then, of course, the Grizzly Stick 125 grain. I know it's the Silver Flame or whatever it's called. I have that. So let's go ahead and just run through and see how well the magnet picks up on this kind of stuff. This is, in case you can't see it, this is it has 2 broadheads and the case on it, so you can just drop it down to see how well it will stick. Again, this is 2 broadheads in here. Spin that around for you. These are the 150 grain Samurais. Of course, that's 2 broadheads. I do know this with when trying to lift up a broadhead, especially that's on the edge of an arrow. What I have found so far is that I'll drop it down 100%. It grabs that broadhead, but then as the arrow starts to slide, it goes to the point of the broadhead, like you see here. Now I got to be careful because these guys are extremely sharp. So now you're at the point only. If you move slowly, you'll be able to lift it off, but then, you know, if you bump this up and down, it will slide. But the only reason it does that is because as you go to lift it up, it just naturally slides to the point of the broadhead. And I'll just see if I can hang it up and then drop it. And of course, this is a little heavier arrow, but that's where we're at with that. But by itself, here's the 200 grain Masai. Actually, it lifts 2 of those up at one time. I'll just go ahead and touch the 125 grain Samurai, so you see it does it. So it's not the fault of the magnet per se as much as it is just it will just run right up the blade, and then all you're touching is the point of your broadhead. Here is the Rage Tri-Pan. I'll put that on the edge just so you might be able to see Rage Tri-Pan. Of course, that's 100 grain, but that will pick that up easy. It's not touching anything. It did fall there. Let me try to do it again. Nope, it fell off there. Definitely has the strength to pick it up. But again, what I have found is when you try to lift up the arrow, it runs to the tip of the broadhead. And while it's down on the floor, let me try it again. You're not going to be able to see this until I bring it up. I'm just lifting it off the floor. There we go. I was able to retrieve it off the floor. Basically, all that's touching right now is the blade on the magnet. So keep that in mind. Here's a Benchmade knife. I forget which one that is, to be honest with you. The Grizzly something. I do know that it's definitely much heavier than any of these broadheads. The metal right here, your belt clip, it attaches to that, but it's just not enough to lift it off the table, like so. Now this has a metal frame inside, which the rubber is secured to, and when you get to the edge of that, you get to that metal frame, then you can lift this Benchmade knife up with ease. Again, I think that's all. I do have a bunch of field points in here. Here's I'll just drop it in the 200 grain field pin or field point bin, and there you go. These are all 200 grain. I just picked up 3 of those. I wanted to come outside for this next test so that I could open up this bullet retriever and try my best to fish off the ground some of the items that I would end up dropping, such as I have a backpack, or maybe I want to use this to pull up my bow at one point in time, or even let it down. And then I have a knee pad. That's something that pulling out of my backpack whenever I get to the top of the tree I could drop. Typically I drop either a hat, a glove, or even like a neck gaiter or my outer garments, because I never wear my coats in when I'm headed to the tree. I always pull all that stuff out of my backpack. You know, here in Pennsylvania, we walk up and down mountains. I get hot and sweaty, and so for that reason, I always pack my clothes in my bag. And so I have them all laying right here. I'm gonna drop this camera down and we're just gonna try to go fishing for some garments, for some knee pads, kind of make it more realistic and see how well this thing does. So what I did here was I just threw down my bow, my tethered knee pad, tethered 1 sticks, my Badlands MRK2 backpack, and also my Badlands silence coat. For me, I drop more times than not either a hat, a glove, a neck gaiter, or an outer garment. I don't wear any of that into the woods so that I don't get them all sweated up and all that good stuff. But for the garments and stuff, I think your best chance would be to try to get underneath and create a pinch, or be able to drop it and kind of get into like a pocket where there's a seam, like you saw right there. I was able to snag a pocket, maybe get the bullet retriever up inside, you know, the wrist, or definitely underneath the hem of the garment type deal right here. Anywhere there's a hem or even a loop or something like that, you could get in there, catch a loop, do whatever. And I think that'd be your best bet for your garments. Now, I generally drop a glove, a hat, and a neck gaiter, and I think I'd be able to create a seam with the neck gaiter. It's really, really light. The hat has the snap back, so I'd be able to get that. The glove, I'm not too sure how easy it would be for me to get my glove. That's going to take some time. I moved and I don't know where I put all that stuff. But here's the tethered knee pad, and I purposely undid the straps just so I didn't have something like that to grab a hold of. And even with the straps undone, I was still able to create some type of wedge and hook that tethered knee pad up. Of course, the tethered one sticks, if you have one or if you have many, I think your best bet would be to, you know, try to hook your strap on your sticks or something like that, get up underneath the am steel, maybe even get into the metal standoff or whatever. You know, just got to fish around. And my guess is at 20 feet high, it's going to be a little bit more tricky than standing here at ground level. For the backpack, there's all kinds of straps and connectors and all that you can just easily throw it down there, grab your shoulder strap connector, molly webbing loops, straps, there's everything. So backpack's gonna be a really easy retrieval. And then with your bow, you could even use this as your bow pull-up rope. Just hook it to a cam, whatever, a place in your riser. Like if you dropped your bow and you had to get into it, connects to your riser, really, really easy. So I think your bow, your backpack, things of that nature, you might even use this intentionally and strategically to pull your backpack or your bow up. So, all right, guys, there you have it, the Bullet Retriever from UltimateAider. There's a lot to like about this little guy. It's 1.83 ounces. It has a 50-pound working load. It has 4 arms, anodized orange, and a magnet bottom. And so if you're like me and you drop things out of the tree, something like this could come in handy for you. In all of my reviews and kind of product alerts or highlights, I like to give pros, cons, or what I would call possible curiosities or suggestions. I am curious as to the benefit of putting a stronger magnet in the bottom of this. Not necessarily for picking up an arrow, because generally if you drop an arrow, you have 4 more in your quiver, right? So it's not really that big of a deal. But for guys that use a hinge release, maybe just a little bit more meaty magnet would help pick that thing off the ground. And if not, you could see generally I was able to pick up about anything I wanted to pick up that I would drop. The other thing I'm curious about is if you were to file down the points of these arms so that they could snag or kind of hook into a garment better, and instead of just relying on grabbing a seam, if this was a little bit sharper, if you could kind of just hook it right into that garment or something like that, and to see how that would kind of help in bringing it up. Again, these are just kind of curiosities. It may or may not help, but from what I have seen in the time that I have spent with this, this is a pretty nifty little device. As always, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments section below, and until next time, good luck to you.